right, everyone. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us for Mainnet Call number 3. My name is Robert, and I'll be the moderately sticky yet effective glue holding us all together today. We have a banger of an episode, so please stay tuned. We're going to be giving a lot of exciting news around the next mainnet launch, the next phase, as well as the state of the SSV network and its ecosystem as a whole. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce our speakers who will be telling you everything you need to know about the next step in our mainnet rollout. First up, we have the OG Alon, core team founder of SSV. He will be providing us with insights into where the protocol currently stands, as well as the important updates that were made to the protocol recently. He'll be followed by Ariel, the CPO and the man who has been instrumental in tying this ecosystem together. Ariel will take us over the latest in the ecosystem and also, very importantly, remove the veil of our highly anticipated launch partners and the staking applications that will be going live during the launch phase. Next up, we have the amazing John. He'll be discussing the new bounty, the bug bounty program, and followed by him will be Adam, co-founder and the actual glue holding us all together. He'll be discussing the applications hub. So please stay tuned for that. And then last but not least, I'll be ending off the call and I'll be spilling the beans on some of the cool social activities for the community that we'll be running. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. I want to start off the call by talking about the Galax campaign that's been running for the duration of the mainnet rollout. Today will be the third in the series of oats that we'll be releasing, which participants can claim at the end of the call. So these oats are essential for our community, shall we call it, initiatives. And for that, we use Galax. It's a platform where we interact with the community to measure participation by using both on and off-chain tasks. This allows us to measure the engagement and the loyalty throughout an extended amount of time via on-chain achievements, on-chain achievement tokens, and loyalty points that are obtained with each campaign. So for Mainnet Call number 3, we're issuing a special oat that requires a few simple tasks, such as following our Twitter, joining Discord, and watching the premiere of Mainnet Call to be able to collect the oat. And there's also a special Easter egg for our Hawkeye viewers to collect maybe something that you might not have been able to collect before. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Alon.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here finally with this official launch of Mainnet. We've been through 2 phases already, going to the third, the big one, where we kind of introduced a bunch of different new things and towards scaling and mass adoption of DVT. And so before we kind of touch upon the actual launch we all want to hear about, I wanted to go over what we've been doing the past month and a half with the live mainnet, which is currently the limited phase, and obviously that will help us transition to the launch phase. And so we are currently the second phase out of 4, limited launch. As you remember, we for the first time introduced 20 new operators, verified operators, to go on mainnet and start participating there with a bunch of validators distributed between them, creating a bunch of different clusters and different formations and so on and so forth. And so as of now, we have 24 operators on mainnet, 224 validators, and it's been running for roughly 45 days with great results. It's spread all over. One of the main ideas was exactly that, testing different configurations, different operators running different tech stacks, different clients, and so on and so forth. And so those 20 are spread around the world on 3 different continents, 21 different data centers. And that was really important to do specifically for just showing the resilience of SSV, latency, performance, and all of that. And we're actually pretty surprised. So in terms of performance, we are outperforming the Beacon chain, basically. And so during those 45 days, we were roughly at 100% of the station rate. It was 99.9 something. So roughly 100% of the station rate. It's hardly missing anything. Just as a reference, I think the mainnet average is around 99. So a pretty big difference. Effectiveness is significantly higher than mainnet average. And we haven't missed a single proposal during that time. So performance is best it can be, better than what currently we have on mainnet, and obviously we'll work towards making it 100% on all fronts. But as of launch, stats, requirements, and obviously kind of benchmark, this is as best as it gets, really. So performance was really, really amazing. And that really leads us, and what's important to test out, that leads us to our launch. The launch is really the big phase in which we kind of showcase the real power of SSV, the architecture behind SSV, and how it's built and operated. And so as we transition to the launch phase, we're really transitioning from just showcasing DVT and how it works, and kind of baby steps towards greater adoption. This phase is really all about developers. Our team is the most part developers, and we're building SSV for developers. We're building it for developers because that's where we believe adoption will come from. That's where we believe most of the value and use cases for DVT reside. And that's really, I think, also where we can have the most impact. If we're talking about Ethereum, the greater Ethereum, and this vision that DVT can help Ethereum decentralize and become more robust. For the most part, those are developers. Most of the stake today is staked via some kind of a service or application. And so it makes sense to build SSV for developers. And really, developers really need three things, specifically in this context. They need something simple and easy. They need something decentralized, and they need something that can scale. Those three factors are what makes developers choose or not to choose different platforms. And I think in the context of something like DVT and other kind of more broadly, DVT, L2s, MEV, all of those protocols which extend the Ethereum functionality, they have to be simple to use, they have to be decentralized, and they have to be scalable. Otherwise, it doesn't make really a lot of sense. And so when we started out developing SSV for developers, that was kind of what led us along the way. And that's really what ended up being SSV. So in terms of simple and easy, it's super easy to run a validator on SSV. It literally takes 12 seconds. In 12 seconds, it's literally just a block time on Ethereum. When you transact and create a transaction for running an SSV validator, in a distributed way, that's how long it takes. It's a simple transaction. Anyone can do it. And that's really, really powerful because it also means there's no coordination. There's no manual coordination needed. There's no picking up the phone in the middle of the night, coordinating different continents on different times. There's none of that. It's a simple transaction. And anyone can do that. And also it enables us, because there's no coordination, because it's a contract-based system, it also enables us something pretty powerful, which is changing operators within a DVT cluster. And so all of those things are making it super easy. Any developer that knows any programming language can hop on and just create a short script that starts running validators. But also just use a web app for that matter. It's super, super easy. But easy without being decentralized is problematic. That's not what we're aiming for. And so in terms of decentralization, SSV, first and foremost, is a community-owned project. And it's a public good. It's very important. It's not, we're seeing other projects going a different route. This is an extremely important point, because if you are building on an infrastructure which wants to help Ethereum become decentralized, become an important component of the kind of the Ethereum tech stack, it needs to be a community-driven project. It needs to be public good, as Ethereum is, because otherwise, it's a whole different ballgame. Otherwise, if you're talking about a licensed product, it means that somebody else controls it. If you're talking about a non-transparent or non-public good type of protocol and project, There's a lot of verifications around other protocols using you. And so that, for and foremost, is super, super critical to be. And the second one, obviously, is being permissionless. That's part of being decentralized. Permissionless means anyone at any time, anywhere can use SSV in the way they want to use SSV. That's extremely important. Both from a developer point of view, I can do and configure how I want to use SSV, but also in terms of kind of the greater ramifications on Ethereum itself. Ethereum is permissionless, and underlying protocols need to be permissionless as well. And so isn't simple, decentralized, and obviously the last thing is being scalable. Scalable means both in terms of the number of validators you can run, but also the number of configurations you can run them by. And so on SSV, you have endless cluster combinations. You can create any cluster you want at any time. You don't need to coordinate anything. It's super, super easy. There's no difference between creating one cluster with 10 validators or 10 clusters with one validator. It's exactly the same thing. And it's, again, super important for the different types of applications, specifically if you have an application which is permissionless, enabling other node operators to come join, and so on and so forth. And so that's important, but also you can scale as you go. Again, because starting a validator is a simple Ethereum transaction, you can scale it up as you go. You don't need to pre-generate a bunch of different validators. You don't need to pay for 1,000 validators if you're just running your protocol. Like, all of those restrictions are gone. You can simply start with one and climb to thousands. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. And so all of those three factors are super crucial for developers. And so that's where we put our focus on, and strategically we decided to go for. And that really leads us to this point today, which is the launch itself. The launch itself revolves around a few different things. Some of them you see it here today. Some of them will be coming up in the next few weeks and months. The first thing which Ariel will talk about is really a kind of a first for DVT in general, which is having fully functioning A to Z applications, staking applications for various types, various developers, running natively on SSV as DVT clusters. That's for the first time happening on Mainnet, and we're super excited about it. And that's really kind of where the focus is going to be on the launch phase, where we want to have those developers coming and transitioning from the testnet all the way to mainnet. And obviously coupled with that, a bunch of different other things like bug bounties, scaling adoption, which is going to be, we have a kind of a super interesting approach to, and a bunch of other different things we will kind of uncover during the next few weeks and months. But this is really the launch phase. The launch phase is all about those developers coming and building those applications on top of SSV, each one of them running hundreds and then thousands of validators on SSV. That's where we believe adoption for DVT comes from. And the more we can transition validators to use DVT, I believe that Ethereum will be stronger and better. And so I'll let Ariel kind of expand and talk about the actual applications coming online in the next few weeks. Thank you.
So I think, like, listening to everything you said is super exciting and interesting. And one thing that comes to mind is that doing this entire effort, building this entire protocol for developers is, in a way, and by extension, a very kind of 2C play, right? Because one of the things that we don't know going into this is how people are going to implement this protocol. What kind of, how will staking look like in the next 1 or 2 or 5 years, right? So what we're trying to create, in a way, is tools for developers to eventually create, best in class and sort of the next evolution of staking applications for the end users. So for the community members kind of listening in, tuning in, eventually we are kind of proliferating or reimagining how the next Lido or Lido 2.0 will look like, in the next bunch of solutions and applications for the Ethereum staking and Ethereum will be built and created, and that's super exciting. And I wanted to kind of ask you a question, Alon, like, how do you see adoption in the early phases by developers? How do you think they will use this protocol in the, let's say, next 6 months to a year, or maybe even 2?
I see 2024 as our scaling year. So in 2023, obviously, we're going through this mainnet launch, not just us, but others as well. And I think that the first steps are crucial because good impressions and good success stories at the beginnings are super critical. And luckily, DVT really came a long way the past, I would say, 18 months because there's a bunch of different partners that we're talking about and we'll be talking about the next few weeks. But there's also a lot of work being done in the background with bigger projects as well. And I think that we're seeing interest across different verticals of the staking industry, from big to small and small to big. And so I believe that good impressions and good use cases, and especially success stories, are crucial for the kind of the first few projects coming online, especially I would say the next 6 months, the first 6 months, say starting today all the way to end of Q1 2024. And after that, I believe that many more will follow. I think one of the things we're not maybe talking enough about is the fact that SSV is not just a DVT network; it's also an infrastructural network, which means that projects coming online and wanting to do staking, it will be much easier for them to do it on SSV than creating their own tech stack, infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So it's not just about better technology, but it's also a more accessible technology. That's why we're putting efforts around the usability and how easy it is to actually use it. And so the next first 6 months will be crucial. We want to create success stories. We want to put a lot of emphasis on those first projects because we want to make them successful and show the world that you can run production grade mainnet scalable applications on top of a DVT implementation. And yeah, that's I think where traction will come from.
That's cool. To just interject for a second, I think we've had about 11 episodes of Chain Reactions now where we have spoken to a bunch of our teams, verified operators and so on. And everyone has had really, really high praise for SSV. Like we spoke with launch notes today and they really like the support and it's been so easy for them to, develop their applications and kind of just work with us. So I think we're already very, very much on track in terms of that.
I also want to expand on what Alon says regarding the infrastructure aspects of things. So the cost of building staking infrastructure is very high. And once you have the infrastructure as SSV provides, which you get it out of the box and you get top-notch world-class performance, those projects to use it can use that time to focus on their business, right? Building their community, building their utility, their tokenomics. They can start innovating more. So once we have a lot of teams like that, we're going to start seeing a lot of differentiating factors between the different staking applications. Right now, it's all kind of the same. And we're already starting to see this happens in our ecosystem, in the grants that we are accepting, and with all of the teams that I'm going to present to you today. So I think it's going to be great for the entire staking industry. Okay. Thanks, Robert, and a big warm welcome to everyone who joined us today. I want to start off by saying that we are entering a groundbreaking chapter in our mainnet journey. The launch phase is the third phase of our mainnet launch, and it's the most exciting one so far. So let's dive in. So as Alon mentioned in the previous phase, we introduced external operators and 20 verified operators were onboarded as the starting operators of the network, pretty much setting the groundwork to where we are today. And the launch phase introduced builders, which are different staking applications from our ecosystem, and enable them to use the network and onboard their own validators. Now, I think it's important to iterate and say that these builders are not just add-ons to the operators. The builders are a cornerstone of our protocol. That's our strategic approach to how we believe DVT will be adopted. So it's a very pivotal and important milestone for our protocol. That's where the network is going to start taking a life on its own. And we're going to finally see how DVT is being used by the real users it was designed for. So throughout this phase, we're going to see a lot of different staking applications, like staking pools, staking services, institutional staking, and community staking products. They're going live on a real mainnet environment. So without further ado, let me introduce to you the staking applications that will take part in our launch phase. All of these teams were carefully selected by our grants committee, who've been working with them very closely over the last year. They are very experienced teams. They know how to execute, and I'm personally very confident in their ability to kick us off and carry us forward. And if you look at a breakdown of how it's going to look like, so from the staking pools, we have Anchor, Stake Together, ClayStack, 01 Node, StakeStar, and Metapool. And from the staking services, we have Xhash, CoinDelta, and ChainUp. We got another one that will be announced further down the phase. So keep up with what we publish and share. Now, you can expect those teams to gradually roll out and launch on mainnet throughout the launch phase. Please subscribe to our socials, to their socials, so you can get the exact timelines and the exact dates of when they launch and how they progress. And if you want to stake using DVT, these are the only options that you have during the launch phase. So I urge everyone here to go check them out, give them a try, and even stake, get the experience. And before I pass the stage back to Robert, I want to say that on a personal note, I'd like to thank each one of our staking partners for embarking on this journey with us and for their contribution to decentralized Ethereum using DVT. You will all go down in history as the first early adopters of DVT, and I'm super excited of what's to come to our network and for each one of you. So thank you for taking a part. And with that, Robert, take it away.
Awesome. Definitely shout out to those launch partners. I think it is quite an achievement to be one of or some of the first like applications to be live on the ssv network. I think it's truly amazing. I mean, and that's only if you look at the grants, like there are so many teams currently building on ssv. It's definitely a sight to behold. But moving on, I'd like to give John the stage so he can tell us a bit more about our oncoming bug bounty.
Thanks, Rob. So yeah, I'll be putting on my grants committee representative cap for today. And as all of you have probably known and voted into, the grants committee is also in charge of a bug bounty. So this was put in place back in May 2022, a bug bounty of certain amounts and different amounts of ssv. It was clarified in the new grants committee proposal that the bug bounty will take place right now with all new terms. So what we went ahead and did as a committee is partner up with Immunify for hosting this bug bounty program. Immunify is a very well-known player in the market, and when it comes to bug bounties, so all the specifics are you can go and see on Immunify, and they will also be on our docs. But just as a high-level overview, we've got 4 different levels of bug bounties, only regarding smart contracts for now. So criticals are up to $1 million, the full amount of the bounty. Highs are up to 30K as a USD, medium 10K, and the lows are just 1.5. The assets in scope, of course, are the mainnet contracts that we currently are working on. That the partners are going to be launching on. Yeah, the idea of this bounty is to get everyone in the community around the mainnet contract, to get people using it, trying it out. It's exactly the right time with the phase, with the launch phase and not the permissions phase, where we can still find things out, fix them up. We really hope this bug bounty won't be used, because we hope everything went well. But even if so, the team is here and the committee is here to reward anyone who does find any faults. Yeah, so this is a very big hope for the future of the net worth contract. And that's it. So anyone, if you want to put up a bounty, have a look at it, jump into Unify, you'll find the SSV page, and it's there for you. That's it for me.
Thank you very much, John. I think
guys, I just realized, I don't know if we have that, but we haven't talked about the audits at all, I think. I don't
Actually
see it.
wanted to ask about it.
Sorry?
I actually
don't have
wanted
them
to
yet.
ask John about it if he kind of wants to mention it. So maybe just give us a run through who is auditing us and what is the current status. So we basically want kind of status updates, everything that has to do with audits. Who are the auditors? How long has it been going on? And what's when
Current status.
is the process going to be concluded, more or less?
Great question, Adam. So we had in the past over a half year or 7 months, we've been doing audits, 3 audits. All right. One is on the smart contract, one is on our spec, and one is on our node. 2 leading companies, QuantStamp did the audit on the smart contract, and List Authority did the audits on the spec, and following that on the node. We completed all the audits already. Right as we speak right now, we uploading those audits. The final reports are, we have them. We uploading to our repositories, to all the 3 repositories: the contract, the spec, and the node. And that's it. None of the audits have anything critical or crucial that have been found.
For sure. So let me just go ahead and ask you, Lior, again. Why are the audits kind of constructed this way? Why do we have an audit for the node and spec and the smart contracts? Just if you can give us a rundown on how we decided, or you decided to divide it into different projects.
So we did audits on the areas that are critical for the protocol. Whether if it's the smart contract, which is obvious, it handles tokenomics, right? And the node for any obvious reasons like slashing protection and how secure it is. All right. The node is aligned to our spec. Our spec defines the protocol. That's the area where all the logic sits. And further on, by the way, audits are not something that we just did. We're not going to do anymore, right? With time, we're going to do additional audits and so on. Every big change that we're going to introduce to the protocol, we're going to introduce it as we did until now in our spec repository. And after that, doing the implementation. But now that we go to mainnet, every big change will require a spec audit. And following that, we will do implementation on the node level. That's the reason why those 3 areas were audited, because they're crucial and they can have security concerns that can harm the protocol from different various ways. Audit is not just security, it's also making sure that, for example, our protocol is following Ethereum spec, and that we implemented everything correctly.
Awesome. Well, that was very informative. I think one of the things that I'm hearing, or a narrative that I'm seeing here, is like, SSV working with its ecosystem and with the community. I mean, we have launch partners who are verified operators, all part of the community, and now we have, community bug bounty, people helping us looking for vulnerabilities. I think it's quite beautiful, to be honest. And speaking of community, we are going to give it over to Adam, who is going to tell us a bit more about the application hub and, its importance.
Perfect. So I think, so I'll just share my screen real quick. Give me a second there. All right, there we go. So just a really quick final introduction of our new ecosystem hub. So during the call, we mentioned the fact that we are very much focused on developers. It's an important effort for us, and developers are going to create, those applications that will be the connective tissue between the protocol and the end user, which uses their ETH, votes with their ETH to stake and secure the Ethereum network. So now Ariel mentioned that there are 9 members, 9 launch partners that are going to go live in next weeks, right? In the coming weeks during the launch phase. We're all super excited about that. But one major question is left out is for those people who are actually making that decision to allocate their ETH to the different protocols, the different applications, how to make that choice. Like, how do I decide between one DVT-based application and another? So we created the ecosystem hub. It's pretty common between different projects in the space. And what it does, it basically aggregates the different applications that exist in the network. So you have staking pools and staking service and different, staking flavors. And as mentioned before, there are 9 that are going to be live soon, but we expect it to be around 30 plus in the next few months. And that's a lot to sort through. So I just wanted to go over a bit about the decision-making process. So the community watching us right now with their ETH at the ready for the launch phase is going to be the first time in DVT's history where anyone can take their ETH and participate in DVT-based staking, which is pretty exciting. It's open to the world through selected staking providers that were chosen by the DAO. So you basically go to the ecosystem hub. We'll show you how it looks in a second. You can check the performance for each and every one of those operators that are being used by those applications in the SSV Explorer, or there is another Explorer by the Dragon Stake team. Then you can check API and the way rewards are distributed between the different applications, and then you essentially go ahead and stake your ETH. So this is basically the way it's going to look like. There's going to be a page for all of the applications and different categories. So if you can see, it's pretty small there, but you have staking pools and staking services and tooling and other categories you can sort through. And then if you click any of the staking providers of those applications that are built on DVT, you'll be able to see sort of a detailed page and more information about those staking providers. And the most important call to action there is obviously the pretty flashy orange button which says stake, which will redirect you to the different staking applications of your choosing, where you can experience DVTs firsthand. So we're pretty excited about that. That's going to roll out in the next few weeks with the launch partners that were mentioned earlier on. And yeah, get your ETH ready, and we hope to see you on the other side. So just to wrap things up before I hand it over to Rob, we're going to have another call happening in the next few weeks, a bit detached from the normal mainnet calls where we announce the different phases of the mainnet. It's going to be a pretty major announcement by the core team and the DAO, and we're super excited about it. So we invite everybody to kind of follow up on our Twitter account and join Discord and kind of see what's going on, so we won't miss that specific announcement. We'd love to see everybody there. And yeah, Rob, over to you.
Thanks, Adam. There's also another call that I'd like to mention, and the call will be with Lido. Very exciting stuff. We recently had the second test with Lido for them implementing DVT. And this call will be all about the work that's been done so far, future plans, and more details. Right. And then I think one of the last most important things for the community is that we will be hosting community challenges with rewards. This will consist of various tasks, which will mainly be built out of social media and community-focused tasks in which users can learn more about SSV, how to interact with the content about SSV, and also how to enshrine their position as a participant in the network via the loyalty points and the oats obtained during these challenges. So I think that's a really exciting thing for people that are not technically versed, but still want to play a big part in the community. This is definitely for you. And yeah, I think that's that. Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate all the time. And
all right.
I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.